I'm worried about the future AIs. I'm worried about the AI that is good enough at AI research to build the AI that builds the AI that is smarter than us and kills everyone.
But I think the development of full artificial intelligence could spell the end of the human race.
It can be a very dangerous thing. And the other thing that I think is maybe the most dangerous thing out there of anything, because there's no real solution, the AI, as they call it.
Fear, fear, fear. It's loud and frantic right now, but when fear becomes the main event, I get suspicious. And maybe you should too. Sure, paranoia has its place in survival, but paralysis? That's a death sentence. In full disclosure, we started to work on this video because anxiety kept creeping into our psyche too. We found ourselves spiraling and mind racing, and it wasn't helpful at all, because when fear runs the show, you don't think clearly, you don't move forward, you freeze. AI isn't just some abstract idea anymore. It's actively reshaping entire economies and shaking our sense of stability. A staggering 81% of US workers fear they could lose their jobs in 2025, with 76% expecting layoffs to increase across industries. A major reason for that anxiety peak? Artificial intelligence. And yet, what if the real story isn't about job loss or the end of the world? Let's talk about the reveal of something deeper that no one is talking about, but changes everything. Are you ready to cure your AI-related anxiety once and for all? So first off, you've heard it 100 times. AI won't replace you, but someone using AI will. Sounds catchy and comforting, but it's shallow. Scramble for prompt guides, learn the tools and automation hacks, or get crushed. But what if that impulse to adapt, to optimize and rush is just a hysterical reflex and the real trap? Yes, we're experiencing something extraordinary that feels like science fiction. AI isn't just advancing, it's accelerating, faster than our institutions, regulations, or even our understanding can keep up with. And what it seems to reveal is unnerving. If thought leaders like Ray Kurzweil are right, and AI becomes capable of doing any cognitive task better than us humans, and if robots can eventually do the physical labor too, then what are we good for? If our sense of worth is tied solely to what we produce as workers, then here's the uncomfortable truth. We're not needed anymore. At least, not in the way we've been trained to think. What if your edge isn't about using AI faster or better? This isn't just the dawn of a new super tool, it's an inflection point. It's about identity. It's the reveal of an old question that's pressing now more than ever. What does it really mean to be human in a way machines can't touch? To get to an answer, let's rewind briefly to when humanity first discovered fire and how it transformed everything. Warmth, safety, food, social bonds, brain growth. Fire builds civilization, but it can burn if mishandled. Same with AI. We're not just typing prompts anymore. We're co-creating with systems that outperform us in design, writing, and even strategy. As Stuart Russell warns, the danger isn't evil AI, it's misaligned goals. Maximize engagement seems harmless until you get addiction instead of education. Endless scroll instead of meaning. This isn't malice, it's just math. And if we're honest, we can all witness the impact of this on our lives already. Manipulation, polarization, and overwhelm. To better understand how today's major platforms almost have no other option than to exploit our weaknesses, check out our video on why the internet keeps getting worse and what you can do to not fall into this trap. If we can't align narrow AI with wisdom, what happens when AGI shows up? Because at the end of the day, it's a mirror, revealing what we prioritize, what we ignore, what we chase. And that connects to something much deeper that might be the biggest story here. Let's zoom out for a second. We act like disruption started with AI. It didn't. This system we all bought into, it was built for survival and productivity, not human flourishing. We were told, just stay ahead of the curve, learn to code, master the next skill, and we believed that would be enough. But now, the curve outpaces everyone, even the best. And suddenly, the system shows its true face. It rewards margins, not mastery. If my work no longer defines me, who am I? What happens then? Identity shock. Maybe the answer isn't more skills. Maybe it's remembering we were never machines to begin with. And yet, we can't imagine our lives without using machines anymore. We spend on average more than 5 hours per day on our phones. Tools turned into mirrors. And that's where something really interesting happens. If you open any social media app, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, what do you see? A fragmented reflection of your past clicks and scrolls, curated by sophisticated algorithms, personalized through patterns. Scroll long enough and you might forget who you are, or more importantly, who you want to be. And instead, you become a loop, puppeteered by machines that reflect our habits and reinforce our impulses. Now, AI does this so well, we often mistake what it does for actually understanding us. Sam Harris calls it the misinformation apocalypse. These systems don't understand, they just approximate. They indeed can generate fluent text, convincing arguments, and simulated empathy. But what AI lacks fundamentally is grounding all of that in truth. It doesn't care, and it certainly doesn't feel. Algorithms optimize for clicks. And in a world that is built to hijack our attention, our edge may come down to something very simple, but profound nonetheless. Self-awareness. Agency. Who am I becoming? What am I choosing? Questions machines can't ask, but we must. This might sound simple, but it's actually getting harder to live by every day. It feels like we're losing this battle for self-determination already, just doom scrolling through life instead of facing such fundamental questions. In a world that is saturated with synthetic cognition, the only remedy is to claim back our presence, our sense of self, because that might be the most precious resource we have left that is actually differentiating us from machines. Our last line of defense, so to speak. And that brings me to something that might surprise you about what AI is actually offering us. So, when machines can handle more of the grind, and that's a reality happening before our eyes, not just since the dawn of AI, you'd be crazy to try and compete with a combustion engine or even an ox when it comes to plowing a field, let alone deriving our self-worth out of something like that. But here we are, fighting for our privileges as so-called white-collar knowledge workers. Now that AI can take over more and more of the cognitive survival work too. The promise of AI isn't just efficiency, it's emancipation. To set us free from the never-ending pressure to produce, to optimize. And if our survival is taken care of, what's left for us to do? That's where Maslow's hierarchy of needs becomes more than just a psychology class diagram. It becomes a roadmap that gives us guidance out of mere existence and into meaningful being. At the bottom of Maslow's pyramid are our physiological needs: food, water, rest, then safety, stability, security. For most of human history, we've been stuck here, hustling for survival, locked in the logic of the lower levels. But every great innovation in human history, from fire to farming to factories to the internet, has done one thing. It helped us rise up the pyramid. AI might be the next great leap, not because it replaces us, but because it has the potential to relieve us. It may give us the freedom to reflect, to create, and just to ask better questions. So, what sits higher on that pyramid? Belonging, love, esteem, purpose, and above all, self-actualization. We can't delegate these. Even the most sophisticated AI simply cannot have self-esteem for you or take over your role in loving someone deeply. That would be absurd and just totally ridiculous even to think about. If you're serious about self-actualization, then well, you have to live and experience your way through whatever path you have chosen for yourself. You can't just outsource your struggles and still expect to personally transform from them. The human game shouldn't be about searching for the next shortcut. It should be about making things matter. Yet, here's the problem. We've been so conditioned and obsessed with hacking the bottom that we hardly ever gaze at the top. And if life occasionally attempts to force us to look at our own inadequacies, many of us just numb ourselves down with more hustle, retreating into the same set of familiar rules that are forever bound to fail instead of making us whole. So we chase freedom, but don't know what to do when we get it. We crave stillness, then fill it with noise. Now, AI shows up and kinda says, let me handle the busy work. And suddenly, we're exposed. Not because we're obsolete, but because we're unprepared. Yes, unprepared to live lives that aren't defined by survival, but by agency, sovereignty. So, this is the inflection point. We either cling to the grind we know, or we begin the harder work, building the top of the pyramid, creating lives that aren't just efficient, but meaningful and fulfilling. AI simply can't do that for us, but it might just give us the real freedom to finally do it for ourselves. And that is news to be cherished, I would argue, because life, much like a video game, offers little excitement if we're just spectators and victory is guaranteed without any effort. The thrill and enjoyment come from the challenges we face and rise up to. It is only by overcoming obstacles that we can truly grow and transform as individuals. So if you happen to be one of those super competitive folks who loves a good fight but the idea of ever losing at all abhors you, our video on how to brainwash yourself to always win is a must-see. But back to the point I'm trying to bring home here. Comparing ourselves to machines doesn't make any sense at all. But to other fellow humans? Well, we're social creatures, most of us at least. And as such, we can't help but to constantly evaluate ourselves by referencing other people. Playing status games, evolutionary biology tells us that this is so fundamentally hardwired into us that we'll probably always find some outlet to compete with one another, whether imaginary or in reality. We play soccer, basketball, tennis, golf. We run, arm wrestle, buy cars, write books, create YouTube videos. Heck, Saudi Arabia will even host the first ever Olympic esport games in 2027. But still, it is humans playing against other humans in these digital tournaments. Competing with supercomputers is only interesting insofar as they are still trying to approach or emulate human-level capabilities. Once they surpass us, it becomes outright silly and utterly boring. Take when IBM's Deep Blue defeated world chess champion Garry Kasparov in 1997. What happened next? Well, we haven't abandoned playing chess against each other or for fun, right? Again, our edge is not to be faster, stronger, or smarter than machines. It's consciously choosing what human experiences we want to nurture. Meaningful life surpasses mere task fulfillment. It's found in shared experiences, relationships, and genuine connections. Just go watch or read anything about life regrets of older folks on their deathbeds. Rarely do they wish to have worked more. Instead, nearly all express a desire to have spent more time with loved ones and allowed themselves to just be happier. Yet here we are, falling into the same hustle trap, despite unprecedented material abundance and economic opportunities compared to previous generations. We find ourselves more anxious than ever. Why do you think we only come to such profound realizations in our final moments, when it seems to be too late? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. If you have some profound theories, I'm genuinely curious. And just to be clear, I'm not against setting ambitious goals outside of our comfort zones. A good life is about chasing what matters, not just chilling all day. But the emotional state we're in while doing that makes all the difference. And as with almost anything in life, it's about finding the right balance and sustainable way of doing things, if you know what I mean. It's totally fair to work hard for a set time to hit those big goals, especially if it means more freedom and quality time with the people you care about. But if your life only revolves around forcing yourself to relentlessly push and do more, haunted by your own inner demons until the day you'll die, without ever enjoying the ride, that sounds like a recipe for disaster to me. So to sum up, our edge isn't productivity, it's humanity. It's knowing clearly who we are and intentionally choosing who we want to become. We don't need to outcode the machine. We need to outdesign the life artificial intelligence just can't live for us. As you probably can tell by now, I'm trying to dismantle our current and what I believe very shallow perception of what it means to be human. So here's another way of looking at it. Imagine you're on a remote island, somewhere like the Maldives or whatever resembles paradise on earth for you. No meetings, no deadlines, no pressure. Just ocean, sunlight, stillness. What's your first impulse? I really hope you can resist the urge to check your inboxes or social media feeds like many just aren't able anymore. How about rest, reflect, connect? Can you just totally be present and happy? When you don't scroll and the noise fades, the signal of being human has a chance to come through. And maybe that's the real test. If AI gives us back time, what will we do with it? Build more dashboards or more memories? And I don't mean to sanitize this. Raising kids, falling in love, dealing with loss, it's messy. And that's why it's real. You learn who you are. You grow, you deepen, you become. If we outsource these, we don't just lose responsibility, we lose revelation. Children teach us patience, love, humility. Partners challenge us to grow, reflect, confront. Pain can transform us, joy awakens. AI might be able to simulate, but only we can feel. So the mess per se isn't necessarily a problem to fix, it's part of the curriculum. A necessary precondition for self-actualization to happen. Like a caterpillar that needs to break out of its cocoon for its metamorphosis into a butterfly. That's why being human and confronting hardships in our lives matters more than ever, because we're not here to hack existence, we're here to live it. Now I can almost hear the cynics thinking, but what if AI wipes us all out along with our entire civilization with some enhanced pathogens or thermonuclear war? Well, then we're done. But still, until that has happened, can we please appreciate how amazing it is to be alive right now? Not stuck in war, which was far too common for all of mankind's history and unfortunately still is in some parts of the world. Not dealing with hunger or sickness, but actually here, aware, with a real chance to do something. Maybe we don't get to write the ending. And I don't mean to be nihilistic here. On the contrary, we do get to choose the chapter we're still in, right? So let's live it well. Let's raise our kids, train our bodies, hold our people, laugh and grieve and build things that matter. Let's not spend our lives dying 1,000 psychological deaths before the final one ever arrives. We could have died in childbirth, in war, in famine. We didn't. We're here, in this moment, with this breath. Don't let worrying about AI totally consume you. To do so is to surrender the most precious resource you have. Your time, your presence, your life. If you refuse to be replaced by AI, then now is the time to embrace something far more powerful than fear. Hope, optimism, agency. That responsibility, it's yours. It rests solely on your shoulders. Remember Viktor Frankl's profound insight. Those who lost hope perished. So hope isn't a luxury. It's a survival imperative. Without belief in a better future, we become paralyzed, powerless, programmed by fear instead of vision. While I do understand the impulse to paint a doomsday picture to provoke action, fear can move people, certainly, but it can also flatten them, make them feel like a cog in a machine they didn't build. If that style of motivation speaks to you, I respect it. But it certainly doesn't speak to me. I'd rather listen to the MLKs of this world than believing that we're all powerless. This is our moment to remember what we're made of. Creative, sovereign, deeply human. Please, let's not abandon the present for a hypothetical apocalypse. Let's meet it with dignity, and maybe even a smile. Not out of denial, but out of defiance. Let's choose radical optimism, not because we're naive, but because we still have agency. AI isn't just a tool or the end, it's a mirror, a test, like fire. It shows us what we've forgotten. It reveals who we've been and invites us to ask, who do we want to become? Not just as workers, but as humans, as parents, as lovers, as creators, as stewards of a fragile but very beautiful world. Our power was never in how fast we worked. It was in how we choose to live. It was in presence, in purpose, in building lives that feel like home. The future hasn't been written yet. We might well be at the crossroads between utopia and extinction, heaven or hell. The pen is still in our hands. It all comes down to how we live on purpose. Let the machines handle the noise. You built the signal. And that might be the greatest revelation of all. Being genuinely human. Alright folks, if this video has shifted how you see AI and what it means to be human, share it with someone who needs to hear this and be sure to subscribe. This conversation is just the beginning. We'll be diving into some super cool ideas here on the Second Nature channel, like how intelligence has its fundamental limitations and what education might look like when things like agency and our ability to execute matter much more than just raw information. So, see you on the next one.